So a quick rant about these cheap switches. These ones are better quality and they're SCI switches from Rapid Online, but I just found out they're discontinued. Now I've got a load of these ones. As you can see, I soldered up a bank of them in my roof console, and they're just cheap illuminated toggle switches that I got. Can't remember where I got them from, but anyway. My only gripe with them is that instead of just being power, accessory and ground for the bulb, really it's a single pole double throw switch. So if you look at this, and just use this tip for instance, I've just took the cover off. Okay, so bearing in mind this is power, that's accessory and that's ground. So the switch is currently on at the moment, so power is linked to accessory, okay, that's fine. And obviously the power is going from the accessory to the bulb and to ground, all working as it should. Now my only gripe is when you try to wire these up in a illuminated sense, so that you swap round the power and accessory wires so that the switches are constantly illuminated and then just function like a normal switch, so they're permanently on but switching is unaffected. So you could have wire up the ground to a relay to the headlights, and then the switches would be on and off as normal, and then when you put the headlights on, the ground would go to ground, the illumination would come on, and they'd be like basically like your heater controls, permanently lit. So yeah, as I was saying, you'd switch over the power and accessory ports so that the power's going up to here and powering the bulb constantly. But when you turn it off, because it's not really a single pole, single throw switch, it's actually a double throw. When you switch that off, that then puts that middle pin to ground. So all your power, rather than just going through the bulb, that pad then shorts out to ground, and that's no good, which is a bit crap. So if you wanted to use these, you'd have to modify the switch, and I ain't bothering to do that. So unfortunately that's the only gripe with these cheap illuminated toggles. But I like toggles. I did look at Carlin switches for this little project, and they're about £6 each, so you do the maths. 3 rows of 5 switches, 15 switches, £6 each. Yeah, not going to happen. So these were about £1.20, but this is the only design flaw really. So if I could get some that were either not inherently double throw, or ones that had an LED in, that'd be a bit better. But yeah, so anyways, so now we know this is a single pole double throw switch. You can now take this conventionally and say that the middle pin is the common, and this is obviously on, and meaning that when you're not powering your accessory, the accessory is actually clamped to ground. So if you're powering something like a relay, that's not a problem, or just one single accessory. But say you wanted to wire this up like I want to do to my battery link. So my battery link is fed from a controller, and that powers the contactor, and basically power runs to the contactor, but then piggybacked off of that wire is going to be a switch, so that I'd have that on my accessory. Now you'd turn that on, that would also fire power down there and keep that contactor closed no matter what. But considering this, you turn that off because you don't want it permanently linked. Controller puts the split charge on, closes the contactor, power also back feeds up that wire, and that goes up there, but it's clamped to ground. It's going to blow your fuse. So whatever you use on these, if it's going to be on a double circuit as such, you're going to have to put diodes on each of your outputs so that nothing back feeds up the switch into ground, just because of that stupid design. So yeah, Right, so just looking at this high quality switch, that's an LED illuminated variant of it, made by SCI. You can see straight away the plunger in the lever's metal, and there's a leg, that's for the LED. So there's obviously two contacts there, and you can see as well the construction of the switch is a bit different. So instead of it being a single pole double throw in the conventional sense, this rocker doesn't actually make connection with this ground pin, so it's just an on-off switch in that sense. But when you do throw it over, the leg of the LED touches this ground ring as such, and the plunger touches the rocker, so the rocker effectively gives power to the plunger up to the LED, and the LED grounds out on this. So